Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Welcome to the Lead Different podcast. Today we have an amazing guest. Nikki Lewallen Gregory is the founder and chief meaningful work officer at the PeopleForward Network. She loves to focus on the vision of organizations, their culture, and their go-to market strategy, all things sales and marketing. She helps clients to stand out with their sales, marketing, and culture efforts. She loves to help businesses grow through relationships. PeopleForward Network provides innovative podcasting, communications, and partnership services for people-first leaders to impact meaningful work. She is also the host of the podcast Gut+Science. She gets to interview the best leaders in the world and uncover how they build winning cultures that attract amazing talent. In her podcast, Nikki delves into the science and experiences of employee engagement, sharing both failures and successes and uncovering the secrets behind them. The show is fast-paced and packed with key takeaways that leaders can implement immediately, or at least stimulate innovation through conversation. I have listened to some of those episodes, and I will tell you, there is enough to take away just in one episode. So follow her, get to her podcast, but more importantly, let's get to know Nikki Lewallen. Welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you. So great to be here. And Dan, just in case in the future you're looking for another opportunity to add to your business for something to offer, you're an incredible MC. I could see you coming into PeopleForward Network being a fantastic MC for all the things we're doing. That was a really good intro. So thank you.
I love emceeing Nikki Lewallen Gregory. So if you give me the opportunity, I will be glad to sit in. I know you have an amazing MC already. Anytime you want to invite me over to be an MC, Nikki, I'd be glad to come over and do that for you. I know you have an amazing MC already, but I'll be glad to be the fill-in. How about that?
Okay, done. On the list.
Nikki, hey, you know what? We've known each other for a few years now. So, one of the things I like to start with is just tell us a little bit about Nikki. You're doing some amazing work. By the way, congratulations on 1 million listens, right? Did you just hit that mark? I think it was recently. When was that?
We did. Gosh, it's probably been about 6 weeks now, but it was such an exciting day because since the day that PeopleForward Network launched, we launched with that goal as a milestone BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal for our company. And so it's just such a cool celebration. And we're already at like 1.2 million now because, the snowball effect is happening. But thank you so much for saying that. My team has all played a huge hand and it was a wonderful celebration and we're on to the next BHAGs. So thanks.
Nothing makes me want to live in Indianapolis more than to know how many amazing people are there. Jennifer Chapman, who's on your team, is there. Ira Wolf is there. There's so many people that I do business with that I love working with. And I'll tell you our relationship speaks to the power of taking the call. I met you through David Gregory. Who I just reached out during my marketing efforts as the Chief Growth Officer at Y Institute. And he and I made an immediate connection. We have very similar YOSs, and we'll talk about Nikki's Y operating system too as we get into it. But I remember we made such a great connection. He's like, Dan, I got to introduce you to Nikki. I got to introduce you what they're doing at the PeopleForward Network. And here we are, a couple of years later. I've had the pleasure of going to Indianapolis and actually having dinner with you and David and playing some golf with David, which was a lot of fun. It speaks to the importance of connections, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes. I have a little fun fact for you that I don't know if you heard the story, but the day that you and David met or when the follow-up happened that you said, hey, we have this Y discovery for you to take, we took it in bed at like 9:30 at night. That's how excited he was. He's like, babe, grab your laptop. We got to do this. And so we were, that's not normal. We don't normally, we have a usual shut off time, but he was so excited and we took that. And I'm really glad he was, because I talk about the YOS, I would say nearly every day of my life. I'm not joking when I say that. I was telling Jennifer Chapman recently, I said, we have to figure out how to activate the YOS throughout in a bigger way throughout People Forward Network, because it is an organic talk track for me. I talk about it all the time. So I'm really glad that David made me stay up late that night and take that. And I'm glad to have seen what it's done for me, or not even glad, I'm grateful that to see what it has done for me and for our team, and then helping other leaders. It's the gift that I give to other leaders, and the stories have been profound. So excited to be here.
Nikki, let's start with that then. So let's share with the audience, because this helps us. A lot of our audience is fellow coaches. A lot of them are YOS certified, or they've taken the YOS. So they followed me from my time at the Y Institute and with the Why Not Leadership Show, and now we're here. But your why is contribute, your how is better way, and your what is challenge. So what we know about Nikki is that in everything she does, she strives to make a difference, make a positive impact in the lives of others. And then how she does that is by finding better ways to do things, constantly searching for better ways to do things, constantly innovating, constantly finding a different way to do things, and then sharing it with others. And then ultimately what you deliver are solutions that are different, out of the box, and bring a new perspective to people. So how did that feel? I know I remember reviewing your results with you, but how does that feel to you now? And how did it feel to you when you first found it?
Well, it took me a minute. When I first read the words on the screen or the paper or whatever, I remember thinking, I've always really enjoyed assessments. I liked self-awareness and, understanding what I can take responsibility for to be better. And I have a podcast with my husband called Addicted to Betterment. So it's just our wiring. So I remember reading the words and thought, yep, pretty spot on. And then I remember meeting with you. Our team did a debrief and it was really powerful. It was really bringing the words off the paper to really understand. And just, I don't know if there could be a larger compliment here to you and to the YOS, to just everything behind it, because I said the thing that it did for me was it released shame. I was carrying a lot of shame that was not needed. And that's a whole nother story, another episode. But I contribute is so important to me. I will not say yes to anything unless I know the impact that it's going to make. I like to say regularly that if it's a check the box, I'm not doing it. If it is impact driven and it aligns with who I am as a person and my core values, then it's on the table. And what I have learned is, because there's so many things out there that we can do with our lives to contribute, we really have to stay core values aligned. And sometimes there's just too much on the table. And so you have to figure out, what is it that I'm going to choose to do, and discern that. And then finding a better way. Sometimes you can take multiple things and bring them together. Or sometimes the thing on the table completely changes your trajectory of your life. And here's where the shame story comes in is, I used to have people say, they still do actually. The other day someone said this and I noticed that my trigger wasn't as heavy, or my response, my reaction or whatever, right? What is it, like respond versus react? So I think I was responding versus reacting. And someone said, yeah, I ran into so-and-so and they said, what's she doing now? And that was what would really bother me. I used to have so much trouble with that. I didn't know, for years, I didn't know if I was an imposter entrepreneur or I was really an entrepreneur. Because I hadn't I'd done many entrepreneurial efforts. Let me say that again. I had done many entrepreneurial efforts and they were the thing that lit my fire. Like, I never wanted to work with corporate America unless I had an entrepreneurial solution to help them, and still look to do that. But it was always living in this high risk, high impact space. And if I found a better way to spend my time, I was going to do it. And I did. And I always have. I have done a lot of different things. One year, I think I had 9 tax returns, or, 1099s and W-2s or whatever. that was a turning point. I was like, okay, something needs to change here. I need to focus my time. And, you know, getting to the place that I read this report, we did this debrief of, understanding my why operating system. I was like, you know what? I will never apologize another day for finding a better way because I know why I'm doing it. I know why. I know why I'm here. I clearly know. I know why I'm here. I know the mission that I'm on, and my business is built around that. I've done it since I was about 24 years old, and it is. I believe the workplace is a mission field for so many things. There's no church that can do the impact of what a workplace can do at a grassroots level. Now, churches come in or other things come in, nonprofits come in to accelerate, but the workplace is an awesome place for everyone to meet with no threat, not no threat, but like just a neutral place. And we can do so much good there. And I know that the workplace is the place that I'm here to impact. And the key for me, my North Star, is to help people find meaningful work, because when you have meaningful work, you live a more meaningful life and you're a better everything else. No, wherever you go, you're better because you have energy for it. And so, quick reflection is, if you think for a second, when you had a soul sucking job or a soul sucking project, your dinner table conversation was probably not awesome. You probably weren't giving a ton of energy outside of what you had to do to get things done. I've been there a lot of times. And so when I saw this, I was like, yep, I am here to contribute. There's no other of the 9 whys or 8 other whys that would be mine. For sure, that's it. And then, yes, my better way, that's how I live. Like, it's who I am. And I'm not going to apologize for it anymore. And so the other day, like I said, I responded when I heard someone say that. And I was like, well, I'm so glad they asked. Yeah. And here's where it is: People Forward Network. So June of 2021 is the day that People Forward Network started. January of 2022 was the day that I said, I will never have a compete. As long as People Forward Network is a thing, I will never do anything else. This is where my focus is, and I still haven't. And we hit our goals, and we'll continue to find better ways within People Forward Network. But yeah, the why has been a huge contributor to my story, and we use it on our team, and we give it as gifts, and we, inspire other leaders to use it all the time.
One of the things you said there was that with regards to understanding, because it really, especially with your unique combination of better way and challenge. So you're constantly innovating, constantly finding better ways to do things. And then you share them, which is such a gift for your clients at People Forward Network, because they don't have to go find a better way. People Forward Network is doing it. They're looking for a better way. There's a better way for you to build your podcast audience. There's a better way for you to communicate with your internal employees, right? Using the power of podcasting. You're constantly looking for those solutions, and then you bring them to your clients. And then what you bring to them is something that's different and out of the box. So you're not afraid to innovate and do something that other people haven't done before. What's something that you've really taken a risk on recently that really illustrates helping by finding a better way and doing it differently?
I'm going to come right back to that, but I just want to make sure that I touch on, we are all about at People Forward Network, a better way to lead. That's why we are here, because we know that the leaders will impact to experience meaningful work for all people when they are leading the charge. Podcasting is just the how, right? So a better way to podcast, that's strategy and tactic, but that's meso level. Macro level is that we are here to help leaders find a better way to lead and to discern and to help them to do that. So I wanted to share that. Risk. Well, I think I could say this, and my team, I don't know if they know the extreme level of this, but they all know we are riding the edge of the bridge as far as we can to be able to grow this team. It's this place right now. We have so much opportunity, and I am trying to discern as much as I can on, like, is this goal aligned or mission aligned? Is this mission aligned? So it's even on the table. And then I'm finding a better way, because we're going to bring this person on. And if I had an unlimited budget, and I don't want any investors, so I'll just take that off the table. if I had an unlimited way to do it, we'd probably have 10 more people on our team right now, but we are pushing the edge as far as we can and are making a big commitment to a new person that will be in a leadership role with us. And that person is, working through the putting in their notice and all the things right now. And I'm sweating, and I think they are too. And I know that they are the right person. I believe it in my heart and my gut, and the risk we are taking to bring this person on to anybody else looking on paper, they think I'm crazy, but we're going to do it, and it's going to be a great story. So, and where else than invest in people, like PeopleForward? I just thought of this, PeopleForward Network. Like, if I'm going to spend my money anywhere and be stressed out, it's going to be with people, my people.
I love that you said that, and thank you for clarifying that, because it is a better way to lead. And one of the things that I was just talking to someone earlier today. Leadership is a people business. It's not about managing numbers. It's not about managing budgets. It's not about managing performance. It's about leading people. And when you do that at a high level, and I've been lucky because of our relationship to meet all of your team, because when we did the workshop, and now I've experienced Brittany, who's newer to your team. Jennifer and I had a relationship prior to her joining your team. So I know Jennifer really well. You have such a high quality team, so many amazing people that are so aligned. What is it that keeps everybody so well aligned? And when I see every single one of them, and I follow your team on social media, when I see their posts, there is not a hint of dissent. It's like you're all moving in the same direction, 100 miles an hour, and kicking butt and taking names as you go. What's leading to that amazing congruency that you have?
Yeah. Well, I would say that it's a lot of upfront conversation to make sure that there's true alignment with that person. So we just brought, we call her Kristen QB, Kristen Quieres Bayona. I mess that up. Maybe cut that out. But Kristen QB. And so that's why we have her name is short. You're probably cutting this out too, but I'm just explaining. That's why we have her short name. So I'll start over. So we have a new team member. Her name is Kristen. We call her QB for short. We spent 6 months talking about the alignment, going back and forth on all the things, and you hear the quote, fire fast, hire slow. I learned that in a profound way a couple times. I had to fail forward a couple times with that one, but I really take it to heart now. And so the person that I told you we're off on the edge of the bridge taking this risk, this person I have known for 4 years probably. We've been talking about this, what's coming, for probably a year. Like, it's just getting to the place now that we're here to be able to do it, and that's super exciting. But there's so much upfront conversation, and the YOS has become a part of our vetting. So one that I use is the purpose gap matrix, which is a few questions that I learned from the creator, John Qualls, a couple years ago. And it really helps you from a open-ended question response, understand the gap between where you're at now and where you want to be. And you can constantly use this thing, kind of like the why or whatever. So we use the purpose gap matrix, and then I have them define each question at a 5. So it's on a scale of 1 to 5. And then you can write it out, and I can see that from all of your words, right? Super powerful. We also we use the Gallup-Clifton strengths. It's incredible. That's changed the game. We lean into our strengths. We're constantly shifting our roles, but when we're hiring, it's like, I need to be able to see there's 4 color categories in strengths. If you're familiar, maybe sometimes people don't know, that's Strengths Finder. If you remember that book, or Strengths Finder 2.0, it's all the same thing, Gallup-Clifton strengths. And there's 34 of them. Learn 34 because of our partners over at 34 Strong that are Gallup-Clifton partners, right? One of the top ones on the globe. And so you look, and there's 34, and all of us have these gifts in us. I have all 34. You have all 34, Dan, but we have profound top like 5 or 10. And we lean into those top 5 and 10 in some different ways. And that helps us to really understand, are we filling a gap on our team right now? Or is this, from a timeline perspective, when this person comes in with their strengths, like, when would that be? Now, we then brought in kind of around the same time the Y OS, and it was like, oh my gosh, if you look across our team, not that everybody has to be this, but it was interesting to see how many of our team are contribute as the Y, which was so cool. And not to say there's some people on our team that aren't. They're perfect for what they're doing. But you start to lean into a language with strengths and with YOS language that helps you to have this cultural norm and lean into each person's why and talk to them differently based on their why and their strengths. So that has been so powerful, and it helps us to really align great people. I would say even before any of those tools, I have prided myself. Is that the right word? I pride myself on um, really vetting great people, just people
Mhm.
with good hearts and big missions, and finding a way to fill a gap for them. And usually the gap is a pain. I have somebody on my team that worked for the worst like example of a company, but man, the stories that we have at People Forward Network because of it are cool. But she came from a disaster employer, and by the way, that disaster employer used to get best places recognition a lot. So man, it's been something. So whether it's that or in trying to solve a pain or an aspiration, like someone that wants to live in this space of making workplaces better, we kind of start there, and it's mission driven, and then we use all these different tools. So then it takes a long time to make sure we're aligned.
I can't tell you how gratifying it is to hear you say all those things because at Why Not Leadership, one of the ways that we work with teams, the way I present working with us, and two things you brought up there that are really important. The YOS is not a one size. It's not the magic panacea. It is when you use it with another amazing tool like strengths. So when you put them together, then you really get a multidimensional picture of everybody on your team. So you know what drives them, and then you know what strengths they have, right? So I use it a lot of times with Colby. I have other assessments that I use, CDR, which is an amazing assessment that really goes in depth into people's characters, drivers, and risks. If you use the YOS along with any one of those tools, it really brings it to life. But what I was going to say about what you brought up, and it's amazing because this is really how I designed what our offering is. We talk to leaders and we say, look, the first thing we're going to do is you're going to get to know yourself. And that's what we did with you. We helped Nikki know herself, understand herself, communicate who she was. And then we're going to help you know your team. And then when you know your team, you know that whether or not you have the right people on the right seat on the bus. And then the final part, which a lot of people take for granted, is have the team know their leader.
Mm.
Because so many times I would come out of these workshops and the leader would say, Dan, I think the most valuable part is now they know how to talk to me. I don't think anybody at People Forward Network wants to bring an idea to Nikki and not show you how it's going to contribute, how it's a better way, and how it's different from what everybody else is doing. Because if you can bring it to Nikki and show her, hey, Nikki, I have an idea and it's going to contribute to the success of our clients in this way. It's better than what we're doing because it cuts out X, this, and this. And it's different because it does this. I can see a lot of head nodding from Nikki versus bringing it in a different direction. So it makes the conversation so much easier. And so we talk a lot about one of the things and I can't wait till Jennifer shares some of the new tools that we've created that we're going to share with the People Forward Network, your team, and then prior to Jennifer's event. But we look at the platinum rule, right? Talking to people in their language, and that's really what that is. The golden rule says, "Hey, treat people the way they want to be, the way you want to be treated." Well, what if not everybody you talk to, Nikki, is Contribute Better Way Challenge? It's that you're going to be talking foreign to them. But if you talk to them in their language and you know what language Chelsea needs to be spoken to, right? You know what language Ashley wants to hear. So it makes the conversations, it makes them more receptive. And what I have seen is people feel seen, heard, understood, and valued when you talk to them in their language. What experience have you had as you guys have used the tool, as you said, in your meetings, in your daily interactions?
Couple of things are on my mind. I'm going to come to that question. One is, you know, there's nothing else in the world more profound than there's a quote that says like the day you were born, the day you find out why, right? So there's nothing more profound than helping someone articulate and believe their why. Like, what else could you possibly do for someone than that could be bigger? I just don't even know. I'm not actually thinking through this as I'm sitting here. So this is why we brought Jennifer Chapman, who, Dan, you helped to get certified in her coaching practice. She works with us part-time to be able to help our team and to be able to help the people we serve, because I'm like, this is life-changing stuff. Like, this is, I mean, so are strengths for sure. I feel like if everything is built off your why, your how, your what, strengths flows right into that. Or Colby, or there's so many. Disc, I love, there's so many I love. But, Simon Sinek said it best, start with why. And when you can be that gift to other people, and the gift is a ripple, because it's, if I know mine, I'm a better human because I believe in myself more. I have more energy. I'm more focused. And people want to work with people like that, right? And then you start to help your team. And then the team becomes more aligned, and you see this in them, and they just, this posture is different. The energy is different. And then you go out and you affect the people that you serve with it as well. And that's why we brought Jennifer on in our company to help do this. It's a piece of her role in a big way. And we're just going to keep getting louder at that. So that's fantastic. When it comes to your question on like, how do we live this out? So we use Slack. I'm obsessed with Slack. Like, I don't know how people don't use it. Like, I love it so much. But it's like anything, you have to configure it in a way that works for you. But one of our channels is YOS and strengths. And so we talk about this. We have a grid. We have everyone's on there. You can glance at it at any time. It's all color coded. We can see our percentages of like, in each bucket underneath strengths, there's, different types like relationship building, influence, executing, and I'm forgetting one, but these different, and we can kind of see where we're at, but you can reference it at any time before a meeting. Remember, like, you can't, maybe as our team grows, you're going to really need that cheat sheet. I do. And so we're using that in Slack as a regular conversation piece. At our retreat recently, we did a kind of reflection conversation on why and strengths to really advance that. And then we did an exercise. Have you ever seen that exercise, good, bad, love, hate, where you take a piece of paper and then you cut it into 4 sections, and then you really look at your good love versus your bad hate, like something you just hate to do. I hate that word hate, but whatever. But things that are just dragging you down, or a bad use of time. So where we have a bad use of time, or we just can't stand doing it, why are we doing that? I wonder if somebody else on the team would want to do that. And let's live in the place that we love to be. And we're just really good at it. And so we tied that in as an activation strategy during our retreat, and then chimed in that channel and have been collaborating. But I mean, that's one example. Dan, I talk about it like every day. And Jennifer Chapman, we call her Jiff. We call her Jennifer on here, which is just, I've never used that name for her.
We could call her Jiff.
Yeah. Everybody, I think, can call her Jiff. But Jiff, she really has been helping us to activate this among our team, but then help more workplaces have this understanding. Because imagine how different your one-on-ones are when you know someone's why. But if you just ask someone, hey, what's your why? It's a lot of times hard to articulate. But if you can have language with it, and everyone can share that. If you're a great communicator or not, you're like, I have my word, and here's what the word means to me. And then everybody's operating from that place. It's powerful.
Yeah, and I love that you use it every day. Thanks for the idea. I think leaders, if you're and the leaders who I've worked with, or if you've worked with one another, our other YOS coaches, this is just a great best practice. Put it in your Slack channel. Have that template there so people can look at it. I know some offices, some of the leaders I work with, they will print out their grid with everybody's entire 1 through 9 so they can see it. And before they make a phone call to someone, they say, oh, that's what I need to be looking out for. That's how they're receiving the information. You're going to love, like I said, some of the new tools. One of the things I've looked at recently And we can do that even live here. And then those of you that are listening are not going to be able to see that, but imagine that I'm holding up a piece of paper with the number 9 on it. And you see the number 9, right, Nikki?
Yes.
But when I flip it over to me, I see a number 6. And if we imagine that this number is between us on a desk, you're seeing a number 9 and I'm seeing a number 6. And I tell people that's the difference between the way a right way person sees the world, who wants to do things by the book, follow the rules, and a challenge person sees the world. They're going to see it differently. And neither of us is wrong. You are seeing a 9 and I am seeing a 6. And I think the point of that is, why don't we invite the person around to our side of the desk so they can see what we see? Or why don't we walk over to their side of the desk so we can see what they see? Because right way people and challenge people can work together. The other example I love to share about our challenge, and I know what challenge is your what, it's my how. When it comes to reading a contract, a challenged person will read a contract, and if the contract doesn't strictly forbid it, it's allowed, right? If it doesn't say we can't do it, of course we can do it. A right way person will look at the exact same contract and say, if it doesn't say we can do it, we shouldn't do it, right? Again, it's not wrong, it's not right, it's a different way of seeing the world. You have mastered that on your team, so congratulations on doing that. I want to talk about something, because your how is better way, and of course your podcast that we want to talk about is Addicted to Betterment. Tell us about Addicted to Betterment. I listened to a few episodes and just I was blown away with the value of the content, but tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'll start off by saying my husband is my co-host. This was his first experience with podcasting, and he is killing it, like killing it. His YouTube sector of what we do has more views than our entire network collectively. Like, dang. So we're a podcast audio first organization, meaning video is secondary. David was like, I really want to try this video thing since you guys are good at the audio. So he took it and, okay, find a better way, right? Like, he's like taking it and bettering, and it's pretty cool. So it's been an honor to work alongside him. But where it came from is, we as a couple, we both had divorce in our past, very challenging relationship scenarios that got us here. And we are meant for each other. Like, he was dropped in my lap. I was dropped in his lap, totally God centered in how we met. It's just not, it wasn't even supposed to be. Like, if you look at it, it's a cool story. And what we found since we met is, like, I'll put on like my nerd glasses for a minute. Like, I'm like, babe, like, we just hobby talk about things like how to get better at this and business topics and this. It's just what we love to do. And so one day I said, I've been talking with Rachel, who is my longtime producer and dear friend and business partner. And I said, Rachel, I've been doing Gut+Science for, at that time, I don't know, 6 years. And I said, I love it. I'm just not going anywhere. But I really want to try podcasting for what I talk about when I am sitting at the beach. I do talk about a lot of the Gut+Science stuff. It is important to me. Employee engagement, culture, yes. But it's the how I work on myself, which is Gut+Science. It's this granular micro level of sharpening myself to be my best self. That's what I hobby talk about. And so does David. And so we were like, hey, we got the resources. Let's try a hobby podcast. And then it's turned into something much bigger. And David has really taken it to another level, like I said, with video. But yeah, it's just this Addicted to Betterment is very much Mamba mentality. If you're a fan of Kobe Bryant and Mamba stuff, it's like every day is a new day, and yesterday's home run is not today's. Like, start over and let's go. And so we really challenge each other together. It's been a heck of a lot of fun, and now we're bringing in partners and kind of starting a mini network with that. It's been fun to see.
I'm going to have to talk to David about that because, and I truly, and by the way, for those of you that don't know David, I agree 100% with you, Nikki. He is a ball of energy, and whatever he's going to be involved in is going to succeed. I'll share this quote and I'm sure David knows it, but I saw it the other day and it makes so much sense as I'm coaching my 12-year-old daughter in high school or middle school track. Somebody asked Kobe once, are you a player who hates to lose? Or are you a player who loves to win? And his answer was, I don't think of it that way. I go into every game to learn.
Ah.
And you can't lose, right? Because you are going to learn from every experience. And, that's one of the things that I've seen in both you and David, just this thirst for learning and getting better. And I can see why Addicted to Betterment is taking off, because what you do as a better way person is you go out and find better ways to do things. And then you're just sharing them with the world.
Yeah.
And doing it in a different format. Of course, you're doing it differently, and you're doing it in a different format. You're doing it together. Check it out, Addicted to Betterment. We'll make sure we put the links in the show notes. Nikki, tell us. Let's finish off because I know you've got a hard stop, but tell us about a why not moment for you. I always like to lead and end the show with that. What's a why not moment for you? A time in your life when you said why not? Because this is why not leadership. We want to talk about a moment where you said, why not just something, and you're so glad that you did.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is going to sound cheesy, but it's the first thing that popped in my head. I wasn't prepped for this question. So it's just literally the first thing that popped in my head. As I said, the backstory of entrepreneurship has been loud for me. And for a long time, I was like, am I really meant for this? I was really doubting myself. Am I an imposter? Is this even what I'm supposed to be doing? And now, because of People Forward Network, it has given me, and like the why is part of the People Forward Network journey. The YOS was all part of that. If People Forward Network wasn't a thing, I don't know if we would have met. But one day, I was doing things at work that were maybe like a 6 or maybe a 6.5 on a 10 scale from a meaning or impact. It was good. It was okay. But I have a relentless need to be making a significant contribution to the world. And I feel I say it all the time, like I'm leaving money on the table, and it's not truly green money. Well, sometimes it is, but like I'm leaving opportunity. Like the time in my life, it's going so fast. Eminem and his song "Lose Yourself" is one of my favorites for a reason. Like we got one shot, and if I am missing the mark on any day, it's hard for me to just keep going because I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I was in that place. David and I are sitting out on our back deck. It was, maybe 5 or 6 o'clock. And I said, Rachel, this producer that I talked about before, that's my dear friend. She said, I was doing podcasting, but it had been Gut+Science. She said, what about creating a network? She's like, your whole life, you've been a connector. You love that. You love like building relationships and community. What if you could take your podcast, Gut+Science, and you could create this network? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, okay, think HBO on TV. You become the HBO of podcasting for leadership content, particularly like people first leadership content. And I was like, why not? Yeah. And so like pretty quickly, everything started to change. We sketched everything out on this paper. The next day or that night, I called Stephanie Hicks, who I'd worked with for years before. And I was like, what's up? What are you doing? And she's like, well, I don't know if you know or not, but I just put in my resignation at whatever. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, listen, I've got this idea. I don't have time to do it right now, but maybe you could spend like 10 hours a week working on this. And she's like, yeah. And she goes and talks to her husband. Well, her husband's like, yeah, I think it's a great thing, especially 10 hours a week. 2 weeks later, she was 40 hours a week. She just left. She's been with us for 3.5 years, with me for 3.5 years, even before People Forward Network started. And I am so glad that I said, why not? Let's go, and it's changed my life. And I've been singular focused in my life for the first time with a lot of confidence and just a lot of tears, like meaningful tears. Like I am one of the sappiest people I know and I'm not always like that. I'm only like that when I'm living in this sweet spot. So anyway, thank you so much for asking. And, I'd have to say People Forward Network, it was a big risk. It was a big risk to take. And here we are, and we're still riding the bridge lane line, but so glad I did.
Nikki, it has been an absolute blessing for me to get to know you and David, your team. Thank you for welcoming me and Why Not Leadership into the People Forward Network, welcoming me as part of Why Institute way back when we first met. I've learned so much. I've met so many amazing people. The work you do and the fact that you lead with the fact that you work with people first leaders is something that's so endearing to me, because people matter and people are important, and leadership is about people. Thank you for that great answer. And what do you say we end the show on that note?
Why not?
Thank you so much, Nikki. It's been a pleasure to have you. Why Not Leaders? Head over to People Forward Network, get to know Nikki, hit her up on LinkedIn, check out her podcast, the Gut+Science podcast, and check out the Addicted to Betterment with her and David. I'm sure you will learn something from it. Thank you so much, Nikki, and we'll see you all next week.
This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different because great leaders change the world.